favorite. She my MVP.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Selfish Conversations, the podcast. I am Dannaya, and this is episode number 2. So this episode is titled Me versus Me, but first, it is not what you think it is. So if you listen to my last episode, it was all about trusting yourself. It was all about knowing yourself, and it was all about validating yourself and making sure that you know your name and that you're not caught up in a role beyond or before your identity. So this episode is all about why it's not me versus me. So I was listening to a playlist. So Title was kind of curating a playlist for me. I was riding around doing a couple things the other day, and I'm living my best life. I told y'all I'm living my best life. That song came on by Cardi B and Chance the Rapper. So I really like that song. I remember when it first came out, that was a song that I played a couple times just because it's good vibes, good energy, upbeat, and it went with, I think it was around the summertime. But anyway, so that song came on, and so I'm singing along with it as much as I know the words, and a part come on when she says, I'm my own competition, I'm competing with myself. And normally when it first came out, I didn't have a problem saying that part, like, because I get it, right? But this time I didn't even feel comfortable saying it, and I had to figure out why. So when I got a chance, I looked up what competition means. Like, obviously I know what competition means, but I wanted to know like the synonyms. I wanted to get down to the essence of that word. And it was like opposition, merciless, ruthless, friction, feud. And I'm like, whoa, like, why would I want to be in competition with myself? And like I said, I do get it on one hand, because it's like, I'm competing with myself. I'm not worried about anybody else or anything else. I'm only going against me, or I'm only trying to be better than me. And I get it from that face, but on the other side of it, when you say opposition, when you say feud, when you say merciless and ruthless, I'm like, I'm not competing against myself. And I was watching the Dolphins and the Steelers play on Sunday, and I'm like, okay, these two teams are competing against each other, and they are doing whatever it takes. It can get brutal, it can get intense, to make sure that the other team doesn't gain any ground. And that's not what I'm doing to me, right? So I'm like, no, I'm not in competition with myself. So it's not me versus me, right? It's really me with me, because if I'm the one that plays every position on team me, why would I want to go against that? If I'm the realest person on my team, why would I want to oppose that? If I'm the point guard and I'm the shooting guard and I'm the, whatever other forward, I don't know, whatever other positions there are. If I'm playing every position, if I'm on the bench, if I'm the coach and I'm the cheerleader for team me, why would I continuously tell myself that I'm my competition, that I'm going against myself? It just really doesn't make any sense to me, because at the end of the day, I want to gain more ground, right? If anything, it's going to be me with me against anything else. I'm already going out into the world as a black person. I'm already going out into the world as a woman, as a black woman. And just in general, as you go out and you face the world in different places, you're going to run into opposition. You're going to run into resistance. So why would I want to add to that by opposing myself? It just didn't make any sense to me. So I decided that that's not something that I'm going to subscribe to any longer. No, it's not me versus me. So I was talking to somebody about this earlier, as I was kind of collecting different perspectives on this topic before bringing it to the podcast. And one of my friends was saying, well, I'm not competing against myself, I'm competing against my younger self, or I'm going against my younger self, or I'm trying to be better than my younger self. And I'm like, of course you want to grow and you want to evolve and you want to be better than you were before, but why does it have to be competition? Because when I think back at, who I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, I really, I like myself. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I was, trying to figure it out. I was probably making some crazy decisions or whatever, but I was trying. I was trying to do the most, you know, the realest thing, the most honorable thing, the most, the best thing for me. So I'm not going against her either, because when I look back, she actually doesn't need any more pressure or any more, you know, hate or any pressure toward her. What she needs is probably some grace, right? What she needs, and when I say she, I'm talking about me, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or more. She doesn't need any more opposition. She doesn't need any more pressure while she's trying to navigate whatever space she's in. She needs a little bit of grace. She actually needs a little bit of encouragement. She actually needs a little bit of support, and somebody to let her know, like, keep going, things gonna get better. She don't need no opposition. She don't need no pressure from me, my current self, my future self, none of that. What she needs is a hand saying, come on, we gonna keep going, we gonna keep moving. And I just kind of am against the fixation, especially in our community, on suffering and on struggle and on, just that type of mindset. Because if we are constantly in a perpetual state of opposition, of seeking out opposition because we feel like that's the only way that we're encouraged, if we're always fueled by opposition and fueled by hate, then we're going to constantly stay in that mind state. And then you wonder why now we restless or anxious or, always feeling like we're not doing enough. Because I understand grind. I'm very driven. I've always been a very driven person. But as far as just like ruthless and merciless and always feeling like I have to be in opposition, like I don't think that's healthy. There's a certain measure of growth that does involve, being assertive and kind of pushing through and breaking ground, but that's not all there is. And I think that we have to be very mindful of the things that we subscribe to, because whether you realize it or not, even when you don't have any opposition, because you feel like that's the way that it's supposed to be, that's the way that you're supposed to move throughout this world and throughout your spaces, then you're constantly going to be seeking it. And when it's not there, you're going to feel like, you out of place, when really it doesn't have to be all that. I'm really big on soft life. And when I say soft life, as I talked about in my first book, when you try to move in those spaces, you become tough, like you become real hard, and you kind of lose your sensitivity. And I'm not a fan of losing my sensitivity ever again. So when I say soft life, I don't just mean wearing heels and wearing, soft colors, because I've been doing that. It's really just about navigating my spaces with ease, with grace, with, just flowing well, and just recognizing that there are going to be moments that a stretch is required. There are going to be moments that a certain level of aggressiveness is required, but that's not all there is. And I think it's important for all of us, men or women, to kind of embrace that softness and kind of realize that you don't always have to be in that grind state. You don't always have to be in that state of, pressing through. Like, obviously, there are times and places for that, but it doesn't have to be all the time. And when you find yourself becoming really anxious, or when you find yourself becoming really impatient and you're not understanding why, you have to take a look at what you have been telling yourself, what kind of perpetual mind state you have been feeding yourself, and kind of figure out how to realign yourself with a nice flow, with a nice ease, even if just for a moment. All right, so I'm gonna go back a little bit and talk about the fixation on struggle and opposition and resistance in our community. So I understand, especially in this country, we have a history of always having to be in that mind state. Like, it was, a lot of us are here only because our ancestors had that mind state. So, obviously, hats off and the utmost honor to those who were able to press through and push through But I think, like I always talk about, when you talk about evolving, it's just like eating, certain foods. So, back in the day, our ancestors, they were given certain foods, certain scraps, and they made the best of it, and it became a tradition for us to eat those foods to honor, how they made something from nothing. But then also, once you know better, you do better, right? So now that you know, obviously it's not made the same, things are not the same. But now that you know that it's not healthy for you and that it's causing a certain measure of stress, hypertension, high blood pressure, and different diseases, then now it's up to us, this new space, this new generations of people, of culture, of climate, of just community, to make the decision that, okay, they did this striving, they made something from nothing, they had this certain measure of grind and survival to elevate us to this new space. And now, to honor them, instead of just holding on to that, we are going to build onto that and create new foundations. And we're gonna start doing better. We're gonna start honoring ourselves better with the resources and the spaces that we have right now. And so I think that's the same thing with mind state. Always feeling like you have to grind and you have to kind of be in a perpetual state of resistance and going against. Like, that's okay at some point, but now, you are able to kind of stand up and be like, okay, now I'm able to move with a little bit more ease. I'm able to move with a little bit more flexibility. I'm able to stand a little bit taller. You know what I'm saying? I'm able to take up more space. And I think it's important that we honor that and not be so bound by tradition that we don't see that the tradition is just a foundation for us to keep going, to keep moving, to keep growing, to keep evolving into the best versions of ourselves. I'm a big fan of bringing your best out. And doing something under pressure doesn't mean you're doing it at your greatest potential. Just because you get it done under pressure doesn't mean that you're getting it done the best that you can get it done. So, just pay attention. Surround yourself with joy and, just graciousness and, just passion and pursuing things that really kind of light you up. And I think that's where we are now. And that's why it's not me versus me. Like, it's me with me, and I'm going to be with you too. Think about it. If you constantly feeling like you need opposition, even though you say it's you versus you, you're going to find yourself comparing and competing against things outside of you, because you constantly in that cycle, that cyclical mindset of opposition. So you're going to look for it. I'm a big believer that comparison is a thief of joy. So if comparison steals my joy, I'm taking it quite literally. If comparison steals my joy, and when I compare myself to you, it's taking joy away from me, that sounds crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? And naturally, I'm not going to sit here and cap like I don't experience comparing myself against other people or things that they're doing. But because I know that comparison is a thief of joy, as soon as I recognize it, I get right back to me, because I recognize that I have my own unique measures of things that I'm supposed to be doing in my own timing. And so comparing myself is really just making me feel some type of way about something I shouldn't even be feeling no type of way about, period. So it's no comparison, it's no competition. It's really just growing and being beautiful and being graceful and being soft and being sensitive and being receptive to the things that are mine. I don't like to be around people who compare or always feel like they have to have an opponent or an enemy, to look to. I'm not doing that. Like, don't come around me comparing, because then I'm gonna feel like you are the op. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna feel like you are the op if you come around me with that comparing stuff, because now you are distracting me from the things that I have to do. You are distracting me from my own mental processes. You are distracting me from my own level of creativity. And for what? To look at somebody else's plate, to watch how somebody else is moving? Like, no, I'm straight on that. How am I gonna be the best version of me watching somebody else? So I can be a fake version of them? Like, no. My DNA is literally just mine, meant to develop just me. I'm not trying to be them or them. You know, I can be inspired by somebody else, like, oh, okay, that's what's up. I like that. You know what I mean? But I'm not leaning and bending into their space. I'll take, little pieces that I like and I'll, sprinkle it around here. But at the end of the day, it's still gonna be my essence that I'm building. I'm not comparing and competing and feeling like I have to have somebody to go against. If I'm not going against me, I'm definitely not going against you. It's me with me. I'm playing on my team. I'm playing on team me, right? And everything is happening the way it's supposed to be happening, period. When I think about growing gracefully, I think about flowers. They already have everything that they need to become what they're supposed to become. And their main goal is to grow beautifully, and to bloom well. And I know this is kind of a girly type of metaphor, but this can go for men and women, because I think a lot of men too are kind of getting tired of always having to be sweated up and bloodied up all the time. And everybody has their own measure of masculine and feminine energy. So it's about, just softening up and being able to feel through your experience and not having to be numb because you just trying to win, or you just trying to make sure the enemy that you've created in yourself doesn't cover ground. Just soften up, loosen up, have some fun, because that's where a lot of inspiration comes from. It's in those moments that can take you from what would have took you 1 year. It can take you 3 4 months, because you have softened up and become receptive to the fullness of the experience, instead of always feeling like you have to be strong and numb and tough and hard, instead of always feeling like you have to be sweating and bloodied up and just beat down from life. I just don't think it's me versus me. I don't want to oppose myself. My final topic as it relates to me versus me is just being mindful of the things that you are subscribing to. I know that there are a lot of like trendy sayings and taglines and captions and all of those things that you can so easily subscribe to, but you know your words hold power. So you have to be mindful of the things that you're saying and kind of pay attention. And if there's something that you've been saying that you don't want to subscribe to anymore, just kind of pull it back and create a new word, a new statement, a new affirmation that better aligns with who you are. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some people who are really competitive, who are really like, they gonna knock down the doors. And if that's you, saying you compete against yourself, if that helps you to continue to move the way that you move naturally, like your natural self, then by all means. But I'm talking about for the ones who, you know, don't feel like it is serving them, who don't feel like competing against their self is serving them, who don't feel like a constant state of opposition is serving them, and it's probably more to their detriment than it is to their benefit. Like I mentioned earlier, there are times when I know that I have to press down, right? Absolutely. There are times when I know that I have to like push forward and push through and kind of, create my own lane, and I understand that. But constantly telling myself that I have to be in that mind state, in the perpetual and revolving mind state of opposition, of friction, of feud, like that's not me naturally. So this is the people that I'm talking to. But even if it is you, just still be mindful of the things that you subscribe to. Pay attention to the things that you're saying. Like, say things that, light you up. Say things that evolve you. Say things that grow you. Say things that, make you sit up and be like, I like that. That feels good. That resonate with you well. Um, I'm a big advocate of that. I have people around me who sometimes just say things they heard on the news, say things they heard on TV, and it's like, are you paying attention to what you're saying, or are you just saying it? Like, are you conscious of what you're saying, or are you just talking and saying what everybody else is saying? So yes, like I said, at one point, I kind of subscribed to the me versus me, but now I don't, because I recognize that throughout this whole time, it's been me with me, not me versus me. And I play every team, play every position on Team Me. So no, I'm not going against myself. If anything, I'm gonna, grow and elevate myself to the point where I don't have to even feel like that. You know what I mean? So that's really how I want to wrap this up. Pay attention to the things that you're saying, the things that you're subscribing to the things that you're feeding yourself mentally, your own inner self-talk, because that's important too. You might not say it, but what are you constantly thinking? And just feed yourself the good things. Feed yourself well. Feed yourself the things that build you up. You know you better than anybody else. So feed the things that build you up, that grow you, that heal you, that help you. So I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'll see y'all next time. Now, I was a little ambitious on my first episode where I said that we was gonna do this weekly, but I have different things that I'm doing, so I am decided to commit to every 2 weeks, and that's because I don't want to always feel like I have to be doing the most. Every 2 weeks, that gives me time to kind of prepare and, you know, process information and then come back with things that I really want to talk about. But let me know what you thought of this episode number 2, me versus me. I'm not doing it. Give me feedback, please. Send me a comment, send me a message, send me a DM, whatever it is. I want to know what you guys think. If there are some topics that you're interested in hearing me talk about, or hearing, how my mind works on that specific topic, let me know. If you want to be a guest, let me know. But until next time, I will see you. Make sure you take care of yourself.
MVP, she's my favorite.